Welcome, everybody, to the Grueling True Second Round of the NHL Pick'em Show. We are going to preview and pick all the games. We're going to do it fairly quickly here. We're going to give you the best betting tips. I am your host, Mike Goodpaster, for the Grueling Truth. And as always, we are powered by betting.net. Betting.net is your best bet for finding the online casino or a sportsbook that's right for you. Make sure you check them out at betting.net. All right, guys, the first round of the NHL playoffs showed you why people say that the NHL playoffs are the greatest tournament in sports. We saw five of the eight series go to a seventh and deciding game. 2 or 3 of those games go to overtime to be decided. And if you followed around with our first round preview, we did go 7-1. We only missed one series. We got the Bruins and the Hurricanes wrong, which the Bruins did lose in 7 games, so we weren't too far off. But I'll take hitting 7 out of 8 anytime when it comes to betting on the playoffs. All right, guys, let's start it off. Let's look at the New York Rangers against the Carolina Hurricanes. Right now, the Rangers are at plus 170. The Hurricanes are a minus 227. And what we saw was the Hurricanes were a completely different team home and away against the Boston Bruins. At home, they looked comfortable. They dominated the Bruins. On the road, it was the exact opposite. They get whipped by the Bruins. That was a series where the home team won every game all the way through. The New York Rangers, on the other hand, are a gritty bunch. And I don't know if I've ever seen a team, as the Penguins, dominate a series and lose the series. Basically, this came down to the New York Rangers' special teams and their goaltending being better than Pittsburgh's. And, of course, it ended on a power play goal for the Rangers. The Rangers won the series in an exciting Game 7 at Madison Square Garden. Now, I think the Hurricanes are the better team than the Rangers. That hurts me to say that because I'm a New York Rangers fan. But this Rangers team is so gritty, it's really hard to overlook them. Now, I think the Rangers are going to make this series difficult for the Carolina Hurricanes, but I think 5-on-5, the Hurricanes have a huge advantage here. And the Rangers, the special teams and goaltending can't be overlooked. You get a hot goalie, even against a really good offense, you can win the series. Now, I think the Hurricanes struggled on the road. They were really good at home. The Rangers, kind of the same thing. I think this pick, I hate to say it as a Rangers fan, I think the Hurricanes take this in 6. But I think the Rangers are going to give them all kind of issues all the way through this series because you cannot overlook the grittiness of this New York Rangers team. All right, that brings us to the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers. The Florida Panthers are the number 1 seed. They're minus 148 to win this series. The Tampa Bay Lightning are the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions. They are plus 126 to win this series. And this is a series of, if you're a boxing fan, styles make the fight. Styles make this fight. Because what you have here is, you have a Florida Panthers team that's had a historic season. They haven't made it to the second round of the playoffs since 1996. And when you look at that, that's over 25 years ago. Now, last year they get knocked out early in the playoffs. This year they come out, they get a first round win in the playoffs. So everything's rolling pretty good for them. But they are an offensive, and they had a historically great season offensively. The Tampa Bay Lightnings, on the other hand, are a team that, they're road tested. They beat Toronto twice on the road, including Game 7 in Toronto. And the old adage is defense wins championships. That's going to be tested here. Can the Panthers offense overcome the Tampa Bay Lightning's defense? Plus, the Tampa Bay Lightning, 2 straight Stanley Cup championships. They've been there, they've seen it, they've done it before. I think the Lightning's strategy will be pretty simple. They're going to forecheck the hell out of the Panthers' defense and try to kill the rush play at the root and control the game's tempo. Now, if Florida can get to that neutral zone without much resistance, I think they win the series. But I think when you look at this, I'm always going to go, especially in the playoffs, with the more hard-nosed physical team. I think the Panthers slow down the pace of the Panthers with their forechecking. I think the Lightning win this series in 6 games, guys. And, when you look at the odds of the game, and you're getting plus 126 with the Tampa Bay Lightning, I think that's my biggest bet out of all 4 of these series. I would take the dog here and hammer it hard at plus 126 with the Tampa Bay Lightning. All right, next up, we go to the western side of things, which is the Battle of Alberta. The Edmonton Oilers are plus 160 against the Calgary Flames, who are minus 200. Both of these teams had significant issues in their first series. The Flames were supposed to run through the Dallas Stars. Dallas played really tough defensively, forced a Game 7 last night in Calgary, which Calgary got the game-winning goal to win the series 4-3. The Edmonton Oilers were supposed to handle the LA Kings. That went 7 games, but the Oilers did get it done in crunch time at home against the Kings. So when we look at this, you know it's going to be a very physical, very intense series. Anytime Edmonton plays Calgary in anything, whether it's the CFL, the NHL, no matter what it is, it's going to be intense. And both of these teams struggled at times in their last series. Now, Connor McDavid is a huge one here for the Oilers. He had a playoff leading 14 points, including 6 games with multiple points, which hadn't been done since the Bruins' Rick Middleton managed that feat in 1993. This series promises to be, as I said, emotional, physical. Penalties were up in the first round of the playoffs, and I hope the officiating lets these guys play. You know, you don't want to kill this series, kill the momentum of these games with a lot of unnecessary whistles. The other thing I question here is the health of Calgary's blue line. The Flames need to be at full strength to win this series, and you know they weren't in Game 7, and it looks like they're not going to be for maybe the first 2 games. At least for the first game, they're not going to be full health, which gives Edmonton more of a shot in this also. Now, I think when we break it down and look at this, the Oilers aren't as good as defensively as Dallas, so that makes this a tough series for the Oilers to win. The Dallas Stars' defense and goaltending gave them a shot to upset the Flames in round 1. Now, Markstrom and a formidable Flames blue line will give the Oilers a lot of issues here. I think the Flames win this series in 7 games, but I think it's going to be a great series. It's my number 1 series to watch out of all of these. Next up, we have a significant favorite in the Colorado Avalanche. The Avalanche are minus 400. The St. Louis Blues are plus 300. I mean, significant underdogs here at 3-1. The thing about the Avalanche is the last 3 years, they've been one of the favorites to make a run. They get to the playoffs. The last 3 years, they dominate the first round, only losing 1 game out of 12 in those 3 years. The problem is they have inexplicably fallen flat on their faces in the second round and have lost all 3 previous second round series. Now, with the Blues, though, the only edge I see in the series seems to be at the forward position for the Blues. And the Avs also have a considerable advantage to me in goal. I think the Blues will actually shuffle goaltenders in this series and kind of just try to go with whoever the hot hand is. The Blues averaged the 3rd most goals per game in the league at 3.77, finished in the top 10 with the 2nd highest producing power play, so they could put points on the board. They can score goals, and they can score a lot of them. So when I look at this series on paper looks like a no-brainer because of the Avs' domination in the regular season in the first round of these playoffs. But the past 3 years have to cause you concern. The Avs will be too good in goal for the Blues, I think, in the end. And overall, the Avs are better at almost every position except for forward. I think all these games will be competitive, but I think the Colorado Avalanche win this series fairly quickly in 5 games. But like I said, I think all 5 games are going to be close. So there you go, guys. Hit hard on the Hurricanes, the Lightning, and then in the western side, hit the Calgary Flames and the Colorado Avalanche. So we've only got 1 upset there. Remember, if you check out the article, our article's picking the Eastern and Western Conference. I think on the Eastern side in the first round, we were 3-1. On the Western side, we were 4-0. Remember to check out betting.net. Betting.net, the great thing about them is they're not just sports betting. Betting.net compares the best online casinos, so you can sit back, relax, play the top online slots and poker games, table games. So make sure you check out betting.net. All right, guys, make sure on this video, if you're watching on YouTube, go in the description below on the video, click on Caesar Sportsbook to bet all these NHL playoff games. It's the best place to bet the Stanley Cup Playoffs. Make sure you go to Twitter, follow us at Grueling Truth, and then go like and support our page at Facebook. But for now, guys, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends